You were not supposed to find this video today. Yet somehow, at this exact moment, you are here, watching these words appear on your screen while the number 11.11 keeps following you everywhere. On clocks, on receipts, on random notifications, late at night, early in the morning, again and again. And no matter how hard you try to ignore it, something deep inside keeps telling you this is not normal. There is a reason certain moments refuse to leave your mind. There is a reason some signs return when your life feels uncertain. And there is a reason this message reached you before May 28th. Something is shifting around you. Not everybody notices spiritual warnings when they arrive. Most people brush them aside as coincidence. They continue living distracted, emotionally exhausted, spiritually disconnected, never realizing that some signs appear before a major turning point begins. Throughout history, people from different cultures and beliefs wrote about repeating numbers and strange moments of timing that appeared before emotional awakenings, life changes, unexpected endings, and even personal breakthroughs. Ancient writings often described patterns and repetitions as moments that forced people to stop, reflect, and pay attention to what was happening inside their spirit. That is why this video matters. Because this is not only about a number, it is about timing. It is about the strange feeling that something inside you has been unsettled lately. The feeling that your mind has been restless, your heart has been heavy, your spirit has been searching for clarity while the world around you keeps getting louder. There are people listening to this right now who have secretly been asking for a sign. Some asked in prayer, some asked silently while lying awake at night. Some never even used words. They just carried pain quietly and hoped heaven would notice. And then November 11th started appearing. That number has become one of the most searched spiritual patterns in the world. LD. Millions of people report seeing it repeatedly during stressful seasons, emotional confusion, relationship struggles, grief, loneliness, or periods of deep personal change. Psychologists often explain it as pattern recognition. Spiritual thinkers describe it differently. They believe certain moments wake people up emotionally because the human spirit notices things the logical mind tries to dismiss. But here is the unsettling part. Many people only understand the meaning of those moments after their life changes. Sometimes the sign comes before a closed door. Sometimes before a painful truth is revealed. Sometimes before a new beginning arrives. And sometimes before God pulls a person away from something that was slowly destroying them. That is why you need to stay until the end of this video. Because today, you are going to learn why May 28th may carry more emotional and spiritual weight than you realize right now. You are going to understand why certain signs appear during Sons of Confusion. You are going to hear the hidden reasons so many people begin seeing repeating numbers during moments of emotional exhaustion and spiritual isolation. And most importantly, you are going to discover why ignoring inner conviction can quietly change the direction of a person's life. There is also a deeper truth that almost nobody talks about. Not every sign brings comfort. Some signs arrive as warnings. Warnings that a person is becoming disconnected from their purpose. Warnings that distractions are consuming their attention. Warnings that they are slowly losing themselves emotionally while pretending everything is fine on the outside. One of the strangest things researchers discovered about emotional burnout is that many people report unusual moments of reflection before major breakdowns or life decisions. Quiet moments, repeated thoughts, patterns they could not explain, small interruptions that forced them to pause, almost like something was trying to get their attention before it was too late. And maybe that is exactly why you are here now, because there are people listening to this who feel tired in ways they cannot explain, tired of waiting, tired of pretending to be strong, tired of carrying stress silently, tired of wondering why life suddenly feels different. Some people watching this have started feeling emotionally distant from everyone around them. Others feel trapped between who they used to be and who they are becoming. And deep inside, they already know something needs to change. This message is for those people, especially if 1111 keeps appearing during moments when your mind feels overwhelmed or your heart feels unsettled. By the end of this video, you will understand why spiritual awareness matters more during difficult seasons. You will learn why silence does not always mean abandonment. You will discover the hidden danger of ignoring conviction repeatedly, and you will hear one powerful truth about May 28th that could completely change the way you see the season you are currently living through. Do not dismiss this too quickly. Some messages arrive quietly before life changes loudly, and sometimes the moments people call coincidence become the very moments they remember forever. If this video found you during a difficult season, during confusion, during loneliness, during emotional exhaustion, then there may be a reason you clicked on it today instead of scrolling away. Stay with this message until the end, because the final part may explain the exact feeling you have been struggling to put into words. Welcome to the channel. This is a place where faith, truth, and deeper spiritual understanding come together to help people reconnect with what truly matters. If you believe messages like this deserve to reach more people, subscribe to the channel and become part of this community. And now, let us talk about why 1111 keeps appearing and what God may be trying to tell you before May 28th arrives. Air is a reason certain signs appear during the most emotional seasons of a person's life, not during moments of comfort, not during moments when everything feels easy, but during confusion, during loneliness, during transition, during nights filled with overthinking and silent prayers that nobody else hears. That is when 1111 often starts showing up, again and again. And the strange part is not only the number itself, the strange part is the feeling attached to it, the sudden pause, the quiet tension in the chest, the feeling that something deeper is happening even when life on the outside looks completely normal. Many people ignore moments like this. They see the number and move on. They distract themselves. They explain it away. They convince themselves it means nothing because paying attention feels uncomfortable. But throughout history, moments of repetition have often been connected to awareness. Patterns force the human mind to stop. They interrupt routine. They create reflection. And sometimes that reflection becomes the beginning of spiritual awakening. That is why so many people notice 1111 during emotionally difficult seasons, not because the number itself is magic, but because the moment becomes personal. Some people start seeing it after heartbreak, others during periods of emotional exhaustion. Some notice it while praying for direction. Others see it after crying alone at night, asking God for clarity without even knowing what words to say anymore. And maybe that is why this feels different to you. Because deep inside, part of you already knows this season has been changing you. There are struggles you have not fully talked about, thoughts you have kept hidden, emotions you push down just to continue functioning every day. People around you may think you are fine because you still smile, still respond, still show up. But internally, something has felt unsettled for a while now. That is why spiritual signs often appear during moments where the heart is desperate to feel seen. Sometimes God does not speak through noise. Sometimes he speaks through interruption, through quiet conviction, through moments that force a person to stop and pay attention before life moves too far in the wrong direction. And that is what 1111 becomes for many people, a moment of awareness, a reminder that the soul still notices what the world keeps trying to bury under distraction, because modern life trains people to ignore themselves spiritually. Constant noise, constant scrolling, constant pressure. Most people move through life emotionally disconnected without realizing how exhausted they truly are. They stop listening to their inner conviction. They stop reflecting. They stop praying honestly. And eventually, they stop noticing the difference between being busy and being spiritually alive. Then suddenly a moment appears that breaks the pattern. A number, a feeling, a message, a strange sense that something is trying to get their attention. And maybe that is exactly what is happening now, because May 28th may carry more meaning than you realize today. Not because the date itself is magical, but because certain moments become turning points long before people understand why. Many life-changing seasons begin quietly, before answers arrive, before healing arrives, before clarity arrives. Everything feels uncertain at first. That is the difficult part about divine timing. It rarely makes sense in the beginning. Sometimes God prepares people emotionally before changing their direction physically. Sometimes confusion comes before clarity because a person needs to release old patterns before they can step into something new. Sometimes a closed door is not rejection. Sometimes it is protection. And sometimes the things falling apart in your life are the exact things that were preventing your growth. That truth becomes painful when you are emotionally attached to what God is trying to remove. There are people listening right now who feel caught between two seasons of life. One part of them knows something cannot continue the way it has been. Another part is terrified of change, so they stay stuck, exhausted, drained, spiritually restless. Then signs begin appearing everywhere, not to control them, but to wake them up emotionally before they lose themselves completely. And maybe recently you have already felt this happening, the emotional heaviness, the overthinking, the strange feeling that something inside you has shifted, the quiet sense that your spirit has been trying to tell you something your mind keeps avoiding. Do not ignore that feeling, because some of the biggest turning points in life begin as inner conviction before they become visible reality. And God often works silently before people finally understand what He was protecting them from all along. That silence can feel unbearable sometimes, especially when you are waiting for answers, waiting for healing, waiting for peace, waiting for direction, waiting for one clear sign that your prayers are still being heard. Some people listening to this have become emotionally tired in ways nobody around them fully understands. They laugh around others while silently struggling inside. They encourage everyone else while privately feeling empty themselves. They carry responsibilities, stress, disappointment, and fear without showing how heavy it has become. And after a while, the silence starts feeling personal. People begin wondering if God forgot them. That thought quietly destroys many hearts, because when heaven feels silent, loneliness becomes louder, doubt becomes stronger, fear becomes harder to control. People start questioning their worth, their future, their purpose, their faith. They stop expecting things to improve because disappointment has exhausted them emotionally. But silence does not mean abandonment. Some seasons are preparation seasons. A seed underground looks invisible before growth finally breaks through the surface. And spiritually, many people are in that hidden season right now, growing internally while externally everything still looks uncertain. That is why this message matters, because you may be closer to change than you realize. Even if life still looks confusing today, even if answers still feel delayed, even if your prayers still feel unanswered, God may be separating you from distractions that have been weakening your spirit for years. Certain relationships, certain habits, certain environments, certain emotional patterns that slowly drained your peace without you noticing. And the painful part is that growth often begins with separation before clarity arrives. People naturally resist endings, but not every ending is destruction. Some endings are rescue, some delays are protection, some disappointments are redirection. And sometimes the reason you feel uncomfortable lately is because your spirit already knows you cannot continue living connected from your purpose anymore. That discomfort is not always punishment. Sometimes it is awakening, which is why constant distraction becomes dangerous spiritually, because distracted people stop listening to conviction. They silence their inner warning signs with entertainment, noise, endless scrolling, and emotional avoidance. Little by little, they disconnect from themselves completely, and eventually life forces them to face what they ignored for too long. That is why God often whispers before life starts shouting, a quiet conviction, a repeated sign, a feeling that refuses to disappear, not to scare you, but to wake you up before deeper damage begins. So tonight, slow down for a moment. Pay attention to what your spirit has been trying to say beneath all the noise. Pay attention to the emotions you keep avoiding. Pay attention to the exhaustion that no amount of sleep seems to fix. Pay attention to the parts of your life that no longer bring peace the way they once did. Because something is changing inside you right now, even if you still cannot fully explain it. And maybe that is why this message found you today. Not yesterday, not next week, right now. Because something inside you needed this reminder before May 28th arrives. A reminder that you are not forgotten. A reminder that silence does not mean God stopped listening. A reminder that even during confusion, delay, loneliness, and emotional exhaustion, heaven still sees every hidden battle you have been carrying. There are people listening to this who almost gave up recently. People who kept praying while secretly feeling tired inside. People who stayed strong for everyone else while struggling quietly at night. People who started questioning whether things would ever truly change. But this message came into your life for a reason. Maybe not to answer every question immediately. Maybe not to remove every fear overnight. But to wake something back up inside your spirit before hopelessness completely took over. Because deep down you already feel it. Something has been changing inside you lately. The things that once distracted you no longer satisfy you the same way. Certain people feel different now. Certain situations no longer bring peace. Even your heart has been craving something deeper than temporary comfort. And sometimes that inner shift is the first sign that God is preparing a person for a new season emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. That is why you should not ignore what you felt during this video. Some messages are easy to forget. Others stay heavy in the heart, long after the screen turns black. This may be one of those messages. So tonight, before you sleep, take a quiet moment for yourself. Step away from the noise for a little while. Pray honestly, even if the words come out broken. Reflect honestly, even if the truth feels uncomfortable. And listen carefully to what your spirit has been trying to say beneath all the stress, pressure, and distraction. Because May 28th could become the beginning of a change you do not fully understand yet. Not always an outward change immediately. Sometimes the first miracle is internal. Peace returning slowly. Clarity returning quietly. Strength returning after months of emotional exhaustion. Faith returning after seasons of doubt. And those quiet inner changes often become the beginning of an entirely different life. Do not lose hope just because the answers have been delayed. Some of the most important seasons of life begin silently, long before visible results appear, long before anyone else notices, long before the person themselves fully understands what God is doing behind the scenes. You are not alone in this battle, and you never were. If this message reached you at the right moment, type 1111 below. Sometimes a simple comment becomes a reminder that thousands of people are fighting silent battles together and still holding on to faith. And if this video spoke to your heart, take 1 second to like this video. It helps this message reach more people who may desperately need encouragement right now. Subscribe to the channel if you want more videos about faith, spiritual awareness, hidden truths, and the deeper signs people often overlook in everyday life. Sometimes heaven speaks softly before life changes loudly, and maybe this was the sign you prayed for.